So on today's Academy lesson, we're going to talk about one of my favorite moves. And I alluded to this move in the previous lesson when I was referring to the Kelly Ovett move. Now, the Kelly Ovett bottom replacement, just a little bit of an addition on that previous lesson, is a different move entirely and one that we're going to cover as a lesson in a future episode. However, I want to cover that basic separation move because there are so many things you could do with that little basic separation of separating that bottom card from the rest of the deck. And one of them is the subject of today's lesson, which is Ed Marlowe's immediate bottom deal. Now, this was published in the Paul Bearer's Review, which was a magazine, and I saw it in Bill Malone's Malone on Marlowe DVD set. It was a wonderful, wonderful move, and it has endless applications. And today we're going to go over the move in particular, as well as share a couple different applications of it. So for this move, let's just say you want to deal the bottom card of the deck. In this case, we have the 8 of diamonds. So what's going to happen is that we're going to have the spectator name any number they want. Let's say they name the, I don't know, they say they name 10. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And of course, in that action, we've dealt the first card from the bottom, which is the 8 of diamonds, hence the name immediate bottom deal. Now, this move does have a couple of disadvantages in terms of use as a bottom deal because of its limitation based on the initial grip. So I think that that is actually a benefit because there are ways to get around that in actual performance. However, this is not one move that you would use, for example, if you're going to do some sort of gambling demonstration per se. So the move itself is very, very simple to do, but it's important to understand the grip from the start. So the idea is that you're going to be dealing the cards in this sort of way. Now, usually some people like to deal the cards where it's very open and you have this sort of positioning. However, for this particular deal, instead of grabbing the card at the upper right corner, you're going to grab the card at the left corner. So you're going to grab it at the upper left corner as you deal the cards. Now, it's not much of an adjustment. As a matter of fact, we're going to see this particular way of dealing when we talk about how to do Tenkai steals like we're going to discuss in a future lesson. Keep teasing you guys with little individual things that we're going to cover in future lessons. However, in dealing this way, the immediate bottom deal, when we execute it, is going to be covered that much more. So just get used to dealing where your fingers are going to grab the left edge. So your thumb is pushing and your fingers are grabbing the left edge as opposed to the right edge, which is typically what you see. So that is going to be one of the first things you're going to need to know for this particular deal. The next thing is from the previous lesson. So remember that we talked about doing the Kelly Ovett move, where you are using your middle finger and your ring finger to separate that card from the rest of the deck. Now, what's interesting here is that you notice that if you transfer the card, as I talked about in the previous lesson, that card stays in the hand. So here, instead of keeping it in some sort of palm, we're actually going to deal the card as opposed to palming it. So that is the action of the action move itself. We're separating the card from the rest of the deck. And as we transfer the deck to the left hand, we're just going to deal that card. And if you notice, it puts us in a very similar position as that deal that we were just talking about. So you're going to do the Kelly Ovett move, separating the card from the deck, transfer the deck into the left hand. You're using your thumb to clip the rest of the deck as you deal that card to the table. And in a continuous fashion, you're going to keep dealing other cards on top. And that is pretty much the immediate bottom deal. Now you're going to notice that, again, by dealing the card, by using the left upper corner, it's going to cover that action of the first deal wonderfully. So in this particular case, a very simple application is to have the 4 aces on the bottom of the deck. So by having the 4 aces on the bottom of the deck, you could get into the actual actions of the move itself in a relatively straightforward routine. Now, for this particular thing, one little tidbit that I have done is I get the first ace and put it in the back. So you have 1 ace on top and then followed by the 3 aces in the bottom of the deck. The reason for this is because they're all going to end up on the bottom anyways. So if you deal this first card and have the spectator call stop in this particular fashion, you notice that that ace is already in position by being the top card of the deck. Now, here is the motivator for this particular move. Because it is an odd move to get into and it's an odd move to get down, you need some sort of motivation to transfer the deck from the left hand to the right hand. So most of the time, you could get away with that by using the left hand to carry out a particular action. So in the transitive action of me taking the deck from the left hand to the right hand, I could push this forward, prepare for the move, and execute the move in the next set of deals. So for this particular case, let's just go back here. Remember, we have 3 aces on the bottom, and we have 1 ace on top. So here we have, we ask this first spectator call stop anywhere they want. So let's say they happen to call stop over here. Now notice that this packet is a little bit more towards me. I would usually do this in a way where I'm dealing the packet towards me. I've alluded in the channel to the crotch subtlety, where if you don't want the spectator to touch your cards or to mess with the packet, you put it just closer to your body, hence the crotch subtlety. But for this particular case, I'm doing that because it's going to give me a reason to actually take the deck in my right hand and push this forward. And that's going to be the justification for getting this deck into this grip so that I could now do the Kelly Ovett master move again, and this time turn to another spectator and do the deal, keep dealing cards and have them call stop anywhere they want. You notice that I'm doing the same exact thing, dealing the cards towards my body, closer to my body. So now once the spectator calls stop, I could very easily transfer the deck to my right hand, push this packet forward, and it has a reason for this action. And you are kind of, if you notice, cycling through the action to get into continuous immediate bottom deal. So I push this packet, I get into preparation, so I separate it. I turn to another spectator, sir, call stop anytime you want, right there, perfect. And you, sir, why don't you call stop anywhere you want, right there, perfect. And now you have the 4 aces on the bottom of each and every single subsequent pile. So you have a wonderful little bit and a wonderful way to show that the spectator has managed to stop at the 4 aces. And it's a very simple approach to this problem of having the spectator cut to different packets or finding the aces themselves. Now, there is another wonderful application here that I first saw kind of referenced by John Kerry, but he didn't really put a lot of detail into this particular thing. But it's a way of using the immediate bottom deal as a way of controlling a card. So for this, what that looks like is you have the spectator call stop anytime they want as you dribble the card. So let's say they call stop over here. You show the card. In this case, it's the Queen of Diamonds, or you could very easily just have a card touched and you show that card to be the Queen of Diamonds. And you talk about different ways that magicians shuffle cards. So for example, you might have magicians that cut the deck in certain places. You might have magicians that deal cards like this. That's a way of distributing the cards among the deck. You could try these too. You give the spectator a little bit of a packet. You could do one of these shuffles. You could do one of these shuffles. You could do one of these shuffles. You could try them yourself. And of course, the spectator shuffling the packets and shuffling the cards. And ultimately, you have a way of controlling their card to the bottom of the deck where the spectator is able to shuffle. So the way that works is very, very simply, you're going to have any card touched and you're going to get a break right below this card. So assuming that that card is the Queen of Hearts, you're going to get a break below it. And you're going to talk about different ways to shuffle. So the first way that I like to do to get me in position is that I'm going to lift up all the cards above the break and say you could cut the cards. So certain magicians cut the cards. And this puts me in position for the Kelly Ovett move. So here, I'm just going to get into the Kelly Ovett move. As I place this deck back on top of the other half that I have in my left hand, I deal this card supposedly from the top of the deck. Really, it's coming from the center of the deck, and it is the 9 of Hearts. And you continue to deal a couple cards. You say you could deal the cards on the table. That's a way to distribute cards among the deck. You could help me out here too, sir. You hand them the top half and you go through a couple different shuffles. Maybe you show them how to do an overhand shuffle. You show them how to do one of these weird renditions of the Charlier shuffle. But you could go through different shuffles with them, and ultimately they have the impression that they mixed up the deck and you guys were just showing a couple mixes. However, in that action, you have actually controlled their card to the bottom of the deck. So it's a wonderful little bit of a tidbit to use, and it makes use of this wonderful bottom deal application. So if you notice, you could also use that as a way of stealing the card into palm. So there are a lot of different things you could do with that basic separation. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. In the next lesson, I'm going to talk about the actual original Kelly bottom replacement move, which allows you to control card from the center to the bottom in the hands. And it's a very, very clean method. So this was just the immediate Marlowe bottom deal and a couple different applications. I'm sure that could get your mind in a spin with how many things you could do with it. But thank you guys for being part of the Academy, and I hope to see you on the next lesson.